welcome back, and I missed you guys. It has been so much going on since the last time I posted the video. I work in IT, so at a school, so we've been really going crazy and getting things kicked into gear for virtual learning. I'm also a mom, so my children are getting prepared for virtual learning, on-site learning. Then I'm an instructor or a professor, so I'm also prepping to teach a class on top of everything else that goes on in my life. So my apologies, my videos have literally been the last thing on the list, and every time I get to try to edit the videos, I would go right to sleep at the computer. Now, with that being said, I have videos for you guys. I just got to get back in gear, and I wanted to get on here and apologize and say I miss you guys, and my bad for not posting my videos like I wanted. Anywho, today's video is going to be on making homemade jam. We're still on our canning series, you guys. I have 3 videos on food preservation and canning that I'm trying out. I also got to make another video because my garden went south. Not necessarily because I wasn't able to pay attention to it, but we also had a lot of thunderstorms here in St. Louis. It's been crazy to where it like literally ripped up my garden trellis, my trellis for my green beans out the ground. So that's a whole nother video that's coming soon. Might come in between these videos of food preservation and stuff like that. So with that being said, hey, welcome back. And today's video, we're going to talk about canning and making your homemade jam. So let's begin. Okay, so making your own mixed berry jam is freaking awesome. It's a lot easier than you think. I thought that it was a long, strenuous process, but it's not. Really, you just need your own blueberries and strawberries. You can buy them from the store, or you can go ahead and get those from your garden if you grow those. But it's real basic, has basic ingredients. You can add or subtract as you need it. I decided to use strawberries, blueberries, raw sugar, and sugar gel, and lemon, and it was something else. But those few items are the basics that you need. You really don't need a whole lot. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is prep the strawberries and blueberries for the mixed berry jam. We cut them up, but we also went through and got rid of any that had any damage on it, stems still attached to it, probably was a little moldy. We just went ahead and tossed those, and we sliced them up, diced them, and then put them in a bowl and rinsed them off really well. Once everything was rinsed off really well and cut up really nice, I went ahead and dumped it into a clean mixing bowl so that we can see how it looks. As you can tell, it's very, very beautiful. Love it, and it was equally delicious. After we did that last rinse off, we went ahead and put it into our blender to blend up. As you could tell, I was still finding like little stems in the process, so that's what I was pitching as I was doing it. Now, you have options. I used a blender because I didn't want a whole lot of fruit chunks in my jam, but you can even like cook it as is and it'll break down over time. I like using the blender because I was able to break it down as much as possible to where it's like almost like a jelly type thing. I tried to do it as a whole bunch at first, and then I had to realize that I had kind of a cheap blender, so I had to do half and half, which turned out a lot better. So as you can see, I'm putting half in, blending it, putting in the other half, blending it, and then I let it blend for like a minute or so, and then it was time to move on to the next step. Once I was done blending, I went ahead and put it into my pot and started the fire so we can get this bad boy rolling. As I was waiting on the jam to start cooking or to boil a little bit, I went ahead and started slicing up some lemons. Now, lemons are really good because you want to add citrus to when you're making jam so that you don't have to worry about bacteria and all that good stuff. So I went ahead and added my own citrus to it by squeezing fresh squeezed lemon over it. It took about, I would say I did about 2 lemons. Now you may do a little less, you may do a little more, but I felt like 2 lemons for that size pot that I had, which was a Dutch oven, which I think was about 10 ounces. I don't know, I may have the size wrong. Don't get me the line. But anywho, I took some fresh squeezed lemon and added like my own citric acid to it, which helped the jam stay fresh for longer. After that, I stirred it up. Then I was able to move on to my next step. Okay, now that I had my fruit cooking and smelling really good, it was time for me to add Sure-Jell. So Sure-Jell is like a dry ingredient that you use to really thicken up your jam or jelly. It gives it that gel-like texture that everyone loves when they smear it on their toast. However, I went ahead and poured 1 pack in, considering how big my pot was. And after that, I stirred it in bit by bit so it wouldn't cause any clumps. After that came the sugar. So you have many different options when it comes to sugar. You can use white sugar, brown sugar. Me personally, I like raw sugar. The thing you have to keep in mind with raw sugar, at least for me, what I've discovered is, if a recipe that you're looking up is saying 6 cups of white sugar, raw sugar you really don't need as much. So I end up using like, I would think about 3 cups of raw sugar, maybe even 3.5. Thankfully, I stopped there because after I taste tested the jam in the process, it was sweet. It wasn't like super sweet, but I know if I would have put another cup or 2 in there, yeah, it would have been overkill. Once you add your sugar into the batch, then you go ahead and stir it up and let it cook for like another 5 minutes. Once the jam was just about ready, I wanted to do a gel test. So what I did, I took a small saucer, stuck it in the freezer for about 5 minutes, took it out, put some of the jelly on it, and gave it a little bit of time to see if it jammed up. Now, I went ahead and put it back in the freezer to see if it did. If it gelled up, it was good to go. Afterwards, what you see me doing now, I started removing the foam off the top of it. Now, some people like to keep the foam on there, but me personally, I just removed it. So you just pretty much skimmed it off the top, put it in a little plate next to you, and call it a day. Next, it was time to sterilize the jars. The part that you don't see is that I actually put these jars in my water bath pot. So I did that for about 5-10 minutes, and once the jam was ready, I went ahead and took those out and sat that on my cooling rack so that I can go ahead and start putting the jelly in the jars for canning. After I sterilized the jars, I went ahead and filled each one of them up. They were about a pint-sized jar, and I would say I filled up about 4 jars. Make sure that when you're filling it up, you leave about 1 inch worth of space from the top. This helps with expansion and also just so it won't overflow. You don't want to try to fill up a jar to the brim. That's really not good. After that, I went ahead and wiped all the jar rims with white vinegar. Now, white vinegar helps the lid really stick to the jar when you put it in the water bath canner. After everything was finger tightened, I went ahead and sat them to the side and got them prepared to put them in the canner. After I filled them up, make sure they were finger tightened, it was time to put them in the canner. As you can tell, I did 1 by 1, and I placed them in the canner and I let them boil for about 15 minutes. As you can see, I have one of those handles to pull it out and to put it in. It's very important that you get one of those because you do not want to reach into that boiling water with your bare hands. You will regret it. After that, I went ahead and removed them, took them out, let them sit for 24 hours, and voila. So, quick tips. make sure that the center of the lid is pushed down or sucked down. If you touch the lid and it's still kind of bouncing back and forth, that means that it's not sealed properly. Also, you really don't need to keep the rim on the lid. You can actually unscrew that. If you plan on storing it, you can actually unscrew that and leave it as is with the lid intact at all. And all. That would actually help you realize if something's wrong later on down the line when you go get it and you notice that the lid is loose, or you notice that it's not on there all the way, or the little lid, the pop at the top is unpopped. So if I made, it sounds like I totally made that up, but you get what I'm saying. So I don't have a sample on me right now, but I made about 5 or 6 cans of them. They're in my basement storage, already sealed and ready to go. My family loved it. They were kind of, I'm gonna be honest with you, at first they were kind of, they're so used to store-bought jelly that they were like, we don't know how this is gonna turn out. But all it took was like 1 peanut butter and jelly sandwich and me refusing to buy store-bought jelly for them to actually taste it, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is really good. So I had to hide it. I had to hide it from my family. And by hide, I just put it on a shelf where they're too lazy to go down and look for it. That's usually how it works in my house. Anywho, it turned out really good. Take my word for it. I use raw sugar. If you like the regular white granular, did I say that right? Sugar, that's what you like. If you like brown sugar, that's what you like. The whole basis is to make something that you're going to enjoy and you're going to eat the mess out of. Now that I've learned how to make my own jam, I am more prone to go to Walmart or whatever store when they have a sale on their like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries. I'm all about it. I'm like racking up now. I'm like, nope. I'm gonna rack a bunch of them, get a bunch of cans, and I'm in a big bag of raw sugar, and I am making jam for the gods. So it was pretty delightful. Please stay tuned for our next video. If you have not already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. I want to thank you guys that have subscribed even when I wasn't posting a video. Welcome to the group. Welcome to the family. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope to see more of you guys, and stay tuned because we have a lot more to come, and please bear with me as I get back on track. With that being said, thank you. You have an awesome day.